Hey, welcome everybody. This is another episode of Increasing Influence with Dave Cooper and Miles Biggs of Biggs Ideas. Today is going to be a great show. What do you think, Miles?
This is going to be an awesome show. I feel like we did half a show before we went live, just catching up with our guests that you guys will meet shortly. And I'm very excited. Their story is incredible. They're doing some really awesome things. And I'm just really excited to dive into it even deeper.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, this is going to be an amazing show because we have some industry leaders on with us today. Jody Vermas and Gary Vermas is going to be joining us. And they're from Base 4 Architecture, but that's not what we're talking about today. What we're talking about is their new book, Get Money, Do Good, and it is absolutely amazing. So I'm looking forward to this, and I can't wait to get it started. But before that, please hit that like and share button right now. We are live on 3 locations: LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. If you're not following us, please follow us on LinkedIn. And if you are not subscribed to our YouTube channel, now's the time to do it. We really appreciate the support, and we definitely don't want you to miss anything. So if you're subscribed, you'll always know what's going on. Miles, I think that it's time to bring in Jody and Gary. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
I love it. All right. Welcome to the show. Jody and Gary, how are you guys?
Hello.
We're good.
How are
Thanks, Dave, for having us on.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thank
Miles.
you.
Yeah. Love it. So, all right, listen, you guys. I mean, this is so cool, right? So we know each other. We're in the offsite construction industry together. In a few months back, maybe I don't remember what it was. We ended up on the phone and we're talking. And we found out about what you guys are doing with Get Money, Do Good, right? And you started telling us a story, and I said, as an industry, we're pretty strong as an industry and collaborating and coming together, and it's getting better and better. But this is an amazing story, and I cannot wait to tell everybody about it. In fact, I'm going to let you guys tell everybody about it. But holy mow, 13 kids.
That's
13
right.
kids.
Yeah.
You guys are my hero. I love it. All right. So here's how we normally start the show. And I kind of gave you a little recap beforehand, but we want to know everything about you from the moment you were born until this very moment in time right here on the DaveCooper.live show, Increasing Influence. You have 5 minutes to do it. Jody, why don't you start off? And Gary, you just chime in whenever you feel appropriate.
Sounds good.
All right, perfect. I was born and raised in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and lived there until I was 18. I was raised by a single mom with my sister. And if we learned anything from my mom, it was that we were supposed to work hard so that we could take care of other people and take care of ourselves. She didn't have a lot growing up, so she really bestowed on that on us to work hard and to be able to support ourselves and then go out and to do something even greater. So at 18, I moved to New York City to go to Columbia University. And spent 12 years in New York. Loved every minute there. I love New York City. It's where I met my husband, Gary. We met at church one day, actually, and we've been married now for 23 years. We lived in the city for a while, and then about a year after 9/11, we moved out and moved back down to South Florida. My mom was diagnosed with breast cancer, and so we relocated down there, and that was with our young son. And we knew we'd be building a family, so we thought we'd better go somewhere there could be more space. So we spent several years in South Florida, and I had my daughter, Jody. And then around 2005, there was a series of dramatic hurricanes, including Wilma, which took the power out of South Florida for almost 2 weeks. And Gary was doing an online business. And we had to move. We had to move away from a place that was going to be hit by hurricanes all the time. So we went north. We went to Central Florida in Orlando. And when we were there, we continued to work. I'm a mental health counselor. I'm a licensed counselor. I have my doctorate degree in counseling, and so I was working counseling people while Gary was working in his industry, which has always been engineering. So we were there for a while, and I decided to adopt my first daughter from China. And her name is Shia. She was our first adoption, and we always thought we would have 2, and we wanted a 3rd. So we thought, let's adopt. We have 2 great kids. Let's see if we can adopt a child. And that experience was pretty life-changing for us. We were there, and this child was incredibly delayed, 4 years old, couldn't walk. We saw the hundreds of orphans in her area, but not only that, there's 40 million of them around the world. And I think that really haunted us for a while. It definitely haunted me that there were so many kids to help. And so we adopted that little one, and she gave us a run for our money. She was incredibly difficult. And it wasn't a picture book story of adoption. I mean, she would scratch herself till she bled. She wouldn't eat. She wouldn't walk. It was incredibly hard. Everything she did was to push us away. So we weren't necessarily landing on let's adopt 10 more, which is where we ended up. But that's a different story. Gary and I were traveling not only to China, but to India. I've been to South Africa, the Caribbean, Haiti. We had been all over and doing business, and it was an amazing experience, all these other cultures. But while we were in these places, we saw the thousands and thousands of children in every city we went to who had nothing. We're not talking about poverty like they don't have shoes. We were talking about poverty where they didn't have pants, and babies were laying in the side of the road in some of the places we were at. And I think from that moment on, I knew the trajectory of my life would change, and I was going to do something about it. We started a nonprofit. We have a school in Haiti that we work with, and started several initiatives over the years. But we still never really felt like we were giving all that we could. Shortly after that, in Florida in 2012, my mom died actually from cancer. And it was a turning point for me in my life. I had a conversation with Gary, and I said, you know, life is short. What are we going to do that's going to make the most impact? And I asked him, I never forget it. We were at the water park at Disney World in Orlando, and we were splashing around. And I said, what if you made the most money you could so that we could use everything we get to rescue as many kids as possible? I said, so what can you do? What would make you the most amount of money? And at that time, it was moving to North Dakota, where there was sort of a gold rush happening up there with the fracking industry, and he was building up there. So we did that. And then from there, we moved all the time, ended up here in Tennessee, and started on a process of adopting children one at a time. It was incredibly hard, the process. We were fought on many levels. We got a lot of judgment. And we went around finding children who otherwise might not have been adopted. We went to the list of children who had been referred out for adoption, but for some reason were turned down. Several of my children have brain damage, significant needs. One of them we adopted at 12. Our latest adoption was 6 at one time. Nobody wanted a group of 6, so we took them in. So we always tried to find the kid that no one else would want. And sort of that's how we ended up here. Living in Tennessee, we needed a great community. We needed a lot of space. So we have a huge house on a lot of land, and we have a lot of kids running around it. And in between all of that, we try to work.
Yeah.
And since then have, Base 4 has been amazing. And since then, we've started a college as well for kids like our kids who might learn a little bit differently. So that's where we're at.
We moved 20 times in our married life, dragging kids everywhere. I mean, from Florida to Jersey to New York to North Dakota. We lived in China and India and the Middle East, Qatar, worked there. We ended up working for the king of Qatar, designing palaces in Morocco. Just got to see the world and, I didn't own anything. We sold everything. I mean, our kids had like a duffel bag. We were the only people in the world that barely owned a mattress. Yeah. And we just dragged them everywhere and just kept collecting children as we went. I mean, most collect like shoes and purses. My wife collects kids. So, it was crazy. It was just kind of a crazy life, but business was going well. And, like I said before, poverty outside of America is unlike any poverty you've ever seen. And it shook me because I was living this blessed life, all this education, grew up in an incredible life. I get to play in construction every day. Not that it's not stressful, but I never worried where my next meal was coming from. I never worried about cutting off my arm. I never had to sleep in the dirt without clothes on. And that shook us, and we said, hey, and we tried to go to nonprofits and, like, hey, let's give money here. And every time I pulled back the curtain, I was super unimpressed with how everything was run. Money was being wasted. People were not being responsible. At the end of the day, for every dollar you gave 30 cents made it to the actual person that needed it. And finally, we just said, let's just bring the kids into our home. I want to watch my own investment. This way, I mean, we might go crazy, but at least I can make sure that, you know, every dollar is being spent on the kid.
Yeah. Well, so let's, I mean, it hasn't always been, you know, good. When you started off, you know, I've been listening to your book. Like I've said, I've really tried to do as much homework on this as I could, because I'm so interested by it. You know, when all this was happening, you know, we had the '08 crisis when you were starting your business, right, Gary? I mean, so, you know, you didn't come from money. You built the wealth that you guys have built by hard work. And then September 11th hit again, and it dropped again, right? And I think that's happened to a lot of people. And I think what's absolutely amazing is, even though you went through those hard times, you still found something else driving you to do something good, to driving you like, all right, well, money's nice, but there's something that feels even better than money. Right. But it takes money to do these things too.
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
2009, 8, we lost everything. And we went from being a couple $1 million up to negative $1 million overnight. I mean, within 3 or 4 months, we lost everything. And we actually sold everything we owned and packed it all into 5 duffel bags. We had 3 kids. We gave them each 2 duffel bags, 1 for clothes, 1 for toys. We sold everything in our house, everything, car, I mean, whatever we had. We really still were in debt. We did sell the company that we had. We were able to pay back everybody. And I remember being like 32 years old in 2009, and no, whatever, no, 11 years ago, 38, sorry, 38 years old. And I had $0. We had 0 between the two of us. We had 3 kids and not a dime. And I remember thinking, man, I'm the richest guy in the world because I don't have debt.
Right.
Like, I had paid off everybody. You know, no one paid me when I had my own company. When 2008, when the market dropped, no one paid us. They all stuck us, but I told everybody, I'm going to pay everybody. And we paid them back $1 million. That's what we were in debt, and we got it all done. And then we had nothing left except each other and 5 and 10 duffel bags. And we went to the Middle East. We got on a plane, we flew to the Middle East, and we landed a job working for the king, designing palaces, and brought it back from there. So that was 2010. And now, you know, we started Base 4 just at that time. When I was over there, I started Base 4, and now we're probably one of the largest architectural engineering firms for hospitality, or were before COVID. And yeah, we've been really blessed. It's done really well with a great team of workers, staff.
Yeah. For sure. Go ahead, Miles.
So first, just like, wow, I think is the only response to that whole from birth to now, and, you know, the 16 minutes it's been. That's a phenomenal story. I'm curious, at what point did you decide to start writing it down? When did you look at each other and say, I think there's a book here? Right?
So after, in 2018, we went from 6 kids to 12 because there was a sibling group in the Philippines that nobody was going to adopt, and they asked us if we would be willing, and we did. And we have 6 of the most mischievous children. Literally, I get notes home from school about my children stealing stuff, taking stuff, pulling down their pants in the lunchroom. You name it, my kids are doing it. So we don't have a great reputation as great parents, but nonetheless, they are here. But everywhere we go, there's so much joy. There's so much laughter. There's so much energy.
Yeah.
So we get ourselves in the big 15-passenger van and we drive over to McDonald's or wherever it is we're lunching. And almost every time we're out, people stop, they pull us over, and they say, tell us your story.
Yeah.
They can't figure it out. At first, they think it's a sort of a strange birthday party mix of people.
It looks like some weird Asian birthday party that's going on. Because all of our family's Asian except for 4 of us. So everyone thinks, but it doesn't make sense. Different ages, everyone calling us mom and dad.
It doesn't look right, but then they hear mom and dad, and they go, okay, tell us this story.
Yeah.
So after about 20 or 25 of those, I decided I'm going to write it down. And I'm going to tell the story. And it's not all sunny and roses. It tells the brutal, honest truth about the adoption world, about our deficiencies in parenting, all the stuff we have learned. My kids have everything from autism to brain damage to, incredible just phobias. So we are quite a sight, and but it's a lot of fun. And so I decided to write it down to help everybody else know. And Miles, just to go one step further, for me, and what I'm actively involved in is combating child trafficking and human trafficking. As a counselor, I have counseled women coming out of that field. If you can call it a field, it's a huge industry, unfortunately. And a couple of my kids were headed that way as well. One of my kids was bought and sold to work in the fields, my oldest adopted son. And so I wrote the book because it's an issue that people don't want to discuss. There's 40.6 million people enslaved right now, and nobody's rioting about that. Nobody's talking about that. It's few and far between. So I thought, let me write this book and just bring it to light. It's more of a positive view on it because it shows kids who got rescued. But for everyone in my house, there's millions who are alone, sitting somewhere without anything. It's hard to think about. So I wanted this book to start a conversation about that topic, about kids, about poverty, about people who don't have anything, to us who have everything, really. And can we leverage what we have to change that? Even if it's one life, can everybody leverage what they have to truly get involved with at least one person and make a difference? It could be amazing.
We know for almost a fact that some of our daughters and sons would have been trafficked for sexual slaves, and they didn't have to go through that, and yet they get to live now in Franklin, Tennessee, go to school and have an iPad and play outside and swim in the pool, but it could be in a dungeon right now by somebody using them over and over and telling them over. And that's not a story of one or two people. That's a story of millions and millions of little girls and boys. And it drives us crazy that nobody talks about it. It's a sad story, but this book is kind of the happy side of that. Right. So let's at least jump into that story and talk about it. And let's go help these people. That's kind of the driving force behind the book, other than telling a really fun story too.
Yeah, well, it is a fun story. I mean, living all over the world, being in, third world countries or countries that aren't as privileged as to where we live, it can be real eye openers, like it was for the both of you, seeing what's going on out there. And I think to me, the real story in a lot of this, outside of what you're doing, is just your passion. I mean, think about this. So I think of people like Steve Jobs and, Jeff Bezos and all these people that find the time to do all these big things. I mean, you guys are it's almost 13 now adopted, right? You have 12. It's there's almost 13. You have one of the largest architectural firms in the hospitality space that you do, and then you had this idea. Well, you know what? There's not enough education in offsite construction. Let's add a college to our list of things that we're going to do. And you take all of these things and you say, all right, well, we're into capitalism. We're into making money, and as you put it, I think I made a banner for it, serving capitalism, right? Your whole idea of making money is so you can do something good with it. It's not to make money to just hoard it and move on with things. You're making money because you realize that if you make money, we can make a difference and a bigger impact on this world, especially for children, than if we don't make money. And that's kind of a driving force to go to work every day, right?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people think, hey, if we just give more money to the government and the government will take care of everyone. I'd be behind that if it worked. We all have stood in line at every government agency, and you're like, these guys can't even figure out mail. How in the world are they going to help people? I'm making that very light. So we just decided, hey, let's do it ourselves. Let's go make money and let's go help people. And that's kind of the challenge we are giving to anybody that has the ability to make money. And we pray with our children every night so that they'll take care of themselves and take care of one other person. Tomorrow you wake up, you take care of yourself, you get your crap together, you feed yourself, you put on your clothes, so we don't have to do it. And then you go take care of one other person. And that's what we talk about all the time in our family. You plus one other, you plus one other. And that's the story we got to teach to every businesswoman and man out there.
And I get a lot of critique actually for my book. People think the title "Get Money" sounds greedy. My mother-in-law didn't like it at all, and she was like, "Well, that's not you. You're not greedy. You're just not trying to make all this money." And I think that there's a fundamental misunderstanding of money, that people view money as something that's evil. when in fact, I think it's the exact opposite when your purposes and your intentions are clear. And I'll never forget the moment that my relationship between money and doing good changed. And it was when we were in China in 2009 adopting my daughter. And when we went to sign the final paperwork for her, for us to be able to formally adopt her over there, we had to bring $7,000 in cash. I think Gary like taped it to his body or something going over, so it wouldn't be like taken. But the adoption authority over there requires you to give them $7,000 in $100 new bills. So here I am with this little girl on my lap, you know, screaming and crying, and there's Gary handing over the money for our daughter. And they had a money counter there, and it just scrolled through those $100 bills to count it, and it was like doo, 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 all the way through. And I remember thinking from that moment on, money can do good, and you need it to do good. And if I didn't hand them this money, this little girl wasn't coming home with us.
Yeah.
And so from that moment on, I started to look at money differently. I mean, I was raised, I didn't have very much, and my mom taught us to be super frugal. And I remember that moment, really my relationship with money actually changed, because I had my daughter on my lap and I'm watching that money counter, and maybe it's not how it should be, but that is how it is right now.
Yeah.
So we're going to work as hard as we can to help as many as we can. And that is what we believe works. And also the research is clear. If you look at research studies on this about giving, people's happiness levels go up when they give. But people's happiness levels when they give and in some way are involved in a reciprocal relationship with the person they're giving to, it's even through the roof. That's where true joy is. When you're giving money to help a life change, you're not getting money and giving money. You're getting money and you're doing good yourself.
Yeah.
And that's the difference, I think, for all of us to try to find true joy.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. And you're absolutely right. Let's do some comments real quick. And after the comments, I want to let's dive into, the book, Jody. I want to hear from the author herself, walk us through what we're going to feel going through the entire book. And like I said, I downloaded the audio version of it, and I expect all of you out there as well to do the same, because it is actually really good. And the beauty of it is it's read out loud by your family.
That's right. That's right.
So it's not a narrator. It is the two of you plus, the others. And I'm just
I'm pretty sure I was the weak link on that whole situation there, but everybody keeps telling me I did a great job. But
hey, listen, everybody needs moral support in their life, Gary. Maybe that's your role. Who knows? Let's look at a couple comments on people that are joining us. All right. We have George Ryman. Good morning from Phoenix, Arizona. Hey, George. Shane McNutt, good afternoon from Ohio. Glad to have you with us, Shane. We have Al. Al, keep up the great work. Well, that was nice, Dave. I'm not doing all the great work today. It is these folks right here. We have John Jaworski. John's a good guy. Hey, listen. So John is a producer in the industry. He's done a bunch of movies. So good to see you, John. Thank you for joining in. We got good old Mark Willie on. Glad to see you both so excited about this topic. Welcome, Gary and Jody. Thank you, Mark. Love it. Love it. All right. Carolina Albano. Yes, this is the beautiful side of capitalism. That's a great quote. I love how she said that. I love it. Love it. Love it. Yeah. All right. Jennifer in the background is saying life is short. What we're going to do to make the most impact, everyone can make a difference. And I think we're going to hop into that and how this industry can make a difference with what you're doing as well. All right, we got George Ryman. Kudos. I did the same. Paid off business debts in 2009 when others refused to do the same, and gained the respect of many industry leaders and continue to this day. Awesome.
Yeah.
Al's back. He says, God bless you and your family. Thank you, Al. That's awesome, right?
Yeah, thank you.
If you know any of these people, let us know. Carolina Albano, yes, why aren't more people saying this? This is so 100% agreed. John said, great story. And hey, we got Robert. Hey, Robert, incredible story. You guys are wonderful. God bless. So I love it. So, all right. I don't even know where to go. Miles, I can see your head already ticking down there and that you got something to say, but go for it, Miles, and let's hop into this book. I think since you're writing a book, you're the best one to kick this one off.
There you go.
Yeah. Sure. Well, so we'll get into the book itself, but I'm curious, when something is this emotional, like this is your family, this is those personal stories for you, what was your process for writing like? And how did you sort of separate yourself from the emotion and then consolidate it onto what we're going to read on the page?
Right. The emotion is there. It was there when I wrote it. And I felt almost a burden to write the story. I wanted to put it all down. I wanted to be as vulnerable as we could be in sharing the story. And that part's a little bit scary for me, because when you publish a book that's a memoir, they're not really great books if you're not totally honest. And so you will see the good, the bad, and the ugly of all of us. And I think that that's where the power and the importance of the book really comes from. But it's a little bit scary to just to lay it out and say, here's where we're at, here's where we tried to do good, here's where we failed, here's what we learned, here's how we kept going, and here's what's happening now. And the story continues. So for me, I would just sit down every day, try to write for an hour or two. It took about 3 months to put the book down, and then of course months after to edit. But I chose to write it from 4 different perspectives, and I think that helped. I wrote it from one of my daughters from the Philippines, from her perspective, starting over being abused, being abandoned, living in an orphanage, to the point of our adoption. I tell it from Gary and I's perspective, which of course is him a lot on the business side and me on the parenting side, a lot of that. And then I added in a 4th narrator or voice to the book, and that's my son, my biological son, my oldest, Garrett. Garrett is a high-functioning autism, and he is an incredible perspective on everything that we've done. And I chose him because his voice is very objective toward us. He'll tell you in the book everything that we do wrong. He thinks we're terrible parents half of the time. So I felt like his perspective was really important to give that black and white view of everything going on in our lives. And I think those different perspectives really bring it to life, because there's so much happening in all of our lives as we're trying to bring these children into our homes. So
yeah, well, what's really great about the book that I love is there's 4 different stories all weaved together. Because you start in the Philippines, and then there's me talking about business, and then there's Jody, and really they weave together, and kind of like a crescendo when finally all 12 of us or 14 of us are together. So it really is I read the book, and I was like, I couldn't put it down. I was like, what happens next? I was like, this is my life. I should know, right? But I was like, what happened? And then I would cry. It was a mess. Anyway, it was.
Well, I see, that's what's so great about it, because you can hear the stories in your voices on how you agreed or didn't agree, and Jody would be upset, and Gary just didn't get why, and right? It's I think it's a typical story that anybody can relate to, because I think it's just what the true emotions are, and I think it's amazing that you both are able to be so honest with each other and with the kids. And I don't know why this just popped in my mind. You said 15, right? You're going to need a bus. You're going to have to get rid of your van and get something bigger.
Well, we have 15
passengers.
We have 15 passengers. So, but now they're starting to drive, right? So,
that's funny, right?
Oldest is 20. I've got kids between 7 and 21, and there's nothing like insurance for all that many children.
Right.
Cars, cars, insurance, college. Oh man, it doesn't slow down.
The money part of it is unbelievable, and I get, and you'll hear this in the book too. We got a lot of judgment from a lot of people.
Yeah. But
one in particular, I've had a comment. A woman was kind of upset with the title, upset with the book's idea. And she said, "What does money have to do with adoption?" And she was just so upset. And I was like, "Really? You don't know how much this costs?" And the story that always sticks out to me is when I bought those 6. We came home from the Philippines with those 6, and they were holding their faces because they had such bad toothaches. Because of course, there's no dental care when you're an orphan. And we came out of the doctor's office that day, and I had a $21,000 bill, because each of them had between 9 and 13 either cavities, extractions, missing teeth. I mean, so we wanted
that was our first dentist, just one visit,
$21,000.
That was negotiated. That was after. I mean, it started much higher than that. I think we got them down 50% because they felt bad for us.
Yeah, I think.
There is raising these kids costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
We have to keep working.
We go to Costco every Sunday. We go to Costco and food shop, and every Sunday the bill is $700 to buy food. Then we have to go to Publix to buy what we can't get in Costco. Usually another $200. So you're looking at $800, $900 a week just in food. We've got teenage boys and girls now, right? And we don't buy, like, we're not buying elaborate food. We're talking like, basic food.
Yeah. That
milk alone is unbelievable.
And I think there's this idea out there that adoption and poverty and changing the world is more about a philosophy or about talking about great ideas and coming together and creating organizations. And really, it's just hard work. Yeah. You got to go ahead, make sure you have enough money so you can help somebody and actually help them. And I think that we wanted to walk the walk, and as ugly as it is at some points and as expensive as it is at some points, we've decided this is what we're going to commit to. We're going to do it. Yeah. And I'm just stubborn enough to not give up. I think that's my strongest quality. We're very stubborn.
Yeah. Well, listen, at least you got somebody to put up with it. Right? I love it. So, Miles, why don't you kick us off? Let's start walking through the chapters of this book. And, like everything else, what was the end goal with the book? And I already know what I think the answer is just from listening to you both talk. But, let's kind of walk through the journey of this book so people really can understand the value that they're getting out of listening to it. I'm only through the first few chapters, and I'm like already I'm looking forward to my morning run with Jody and Gary tomorrow again.
So the book starts off in the Philippines with my daughter's older sister who is missing. We weren't able to find her. And the stories of child trafficking happening over there in poverty. So it brings you right into the Philippines and where my 6 children eventually would be pulled out of. And it moves from there, juxtaposed against us living in Orlando at a high point right before the market crashed. And then, of course, the market crashes and we have nothing, and we go to the Middle East with our next adopted daughter. And it's this journey of us living in at least a dozen different places, 5 or 6 different cities. And the journey with our family, with what we were wrestling with in terms of business, personally raising a child with autism where everybody said, hey, this kid's doing terrible. Why would you get more? And just the judgment that we received after we adopted 1 and then 2 more. We adopted our son at 13 years old from China. One of the more challenging things to do because he had no language. So learning to bond with him took years. And to this day, he doesn't even hug me. He doesn't hug me to this day. I know he loves me, but that's how much abuse he had and how frightening his life had been. Yeah. So it kind of walks you through all of that. It walks us through living in India one summer. There's snakes, there's Taliban in the story, that's when we were in the Middle East, and all the insane things we have done to risk so that we could succeed greatly. And it walks us through base 4, a lot of the business stuff there. Servant leadership is the model I use to coach the leaders at the company. So there's a lot of that in there, mixed in with all the stories of our children going to get them, and culminating with the fighting to get those 6 home from the Philippines, as well as help that missing girl who's still missing. So it's kind of a journey from our last 10 years, going from 2 to 12 kids, and everything in between, all the cities, all the cultures, all the food, all the adventures, all the heartbreak, all the discouragements, all the encouragement, all the victories and successes of the business, and all the way through kicking off of college. So there's a lot in there. There's something for everyone. And I think sometimes the memoir category is sold primarily to women, but actually I think it's the men who have read my book who it's resonated with in a great way. And I think it's because a lot of times they're more about the business side of it. And so this book definitely tilts that way. Like, this is about capitalism, but how capitalism can be used and leveraged for great good. Yeah,
I think we approach life, everything is business, right? Where we run our family is, we have 15 kids, we have logistics here. Right? Our house looks like a hotel. We have 6 air conditioners, 3 hot water heaters. We've got, it's not easy, right? So everything we do is like a business. So to me, it's a business book. We talk about base 4 and the partners at base 4. Every one of the partners at base 4 has had a life threatening situation. I mean, we're been threatened to be killed. To be a partner in our company, you actually have to go through a death threat. I've had several of them. You shouldn't, as an architect, get death threats, but we have. So there's in base 4, the name base 4 comes from our 4 values, which is honesty, humility, respect, and fun. And that's just our creed that we've marched through with. And so I think the whole book is a business book. It's business of family, business of business, business of relationships, business of parenting. And really, it takes a very business approach to all that, which to me is really fun because I love business. So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, and we've done many things to succeed. We've taken risks. It's definitely, we're not very fearful. So we've taken big risks. We have failed and we have succeeded. And there's a lot, I think everyone will relate to several of the side stories there.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Go ahead,
and
Mark.
also, just on the side, a large part of the book is about how terrible our children are. Terrible. Like everything that gets broken and taken, and the fights and the screaming and so I think if you're a parent, it'll definitely resonate because at some level we all understand what that's like. Multiply it by 12 and that's our house. And
well, what's funny is that we decided, hey, we're going to take kids and adopt them, like as if we were good parents. We're not good parents. Like we don't. Like that's never something we think. We're like, yeah, we're barely holding on.
We're doing the best we can.
But the bar is low. They're better off here than we were. So it's fine. And again, it's all business. Like we have a profit better than they were before. We're kind of trending upward. We're still low compared to everyone else. But we're like a startup. We're gonna make it.
There you go. Yeah, I have 1 2.5-year-old, and I cannot imagine that tantrum multiplied by 11.
Well, you know what these kids have taught me, Miles? These kids have taught me to measure success differently. You go to school and there's the kids winning the awards and having a line in the school play. My kids get none of that. They're always in the back. I'm getting called in every other day to the principal. Sometimes I have to actually pick them up from school because they're running through the hallways threatening something.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't even make it up. But success to us is when somebody's able to have a little self-awareness and change something. Like, they can smile, they can laugh, they can learn to read. These are huge. We might not be Ivy Leaguers here, but they're going to have wonderful jobs, and they're going to be able to go to a college like Stone Pal and learn great skills and leadership and be successful. It might look differently than other kids, but that's okay with us.
So what's funny is that this was the driving force behind Stone Pile because our kids are all non-traditional learners, and we are Ivy Leaguers. Jody graduated from Columbia. I did my PhD at Columbia University. And I don't think we would send our kids back to the Ivy League now, unfortunately. And I'd rather see them go to Stone Pile and learn how to be, a super on a job. Because that's the way we set the college up with kind of a 5-6 touch point learning system, not your traditional, back and forth type of learning that you get out of college. We have an incredible system with videos and all of that and discussions so that non-traditional learners can learn and get it done quickly, 2.5 years, and then go out there and make good money. And really, we need it. I mean, the industry is dying for people to work. And I think all of my kids will end up some form of, construction or doing that type of work.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting. I just spoke to a company the other day, and they actually have taken their, and this is in Europe, they've actually taken their manufacturing in their office, brought in a younger CEO, and it's like a tech company now. They play video games there.
Yeah.
They're making it fun. They're making it cool to do, construction, offsite, modular, and all this stuff. And I agree with you. I think people that want to do what we do are visual people. They visualize, they like to use their hands. They're not all Ivy Leaguers and what have you. And I think your approach to how you're doing Stone Pile College is really incredible. And I mean, you got enough kids to fill one classroom by yourself.
That's right. Well, if I don't have to send my kids to college and I could just send them to my own college, it's worth all the costs to start it. I'm saving money. Like all the investment into the college, we're saving money at the end of the day.
That's right. And it's also cool because, for our daughters, there's just not enough women in this industry.
That's right.
And it's right for it. I mean, they're so detail oriented. They're so visual. They're so good at remembering all the details and getting stuff right. And I just think it's time for that as well.
Yeah, I would argue that if you look at the efficiency of construction over the last 100 years, which is nil, almost nothing, when every other industry, I would say a huge part of that is the fact that we only have 7% women in the whole industry.
Yeah.
You have such a lopsided, messed up industry, which is all CYA, protect yourself, all fragmentation, no incentive for growth, and no women in any one of those companies. It doesn't take a genius to realize, no wonder you guys are a freaking mess.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Miles.
No, I was gonna say spoken from a husband who knows his wife, right? Where it's like I just point at my wife and say she's the boss. She's there for brilliant. I was like, give me direction and I'll do it, and it comes from her. So I agree with you on that. Back to the book though, I was curious. The whole idea of get money, do good, which I love. For all of us that maybe don't have enough money to, adopt 13 kids,
Sure.
still want to do good, what action do you hope people take after they read the book and they're exposed to your story?
It's a great story. And I think that, we are an extreme case of what I'm talking about. And it's certainly not something that everyone would like to do or would be effective at doing.
Nor do we suggest everyone do it.
It's like a cautionary tale.
Yeah.
But each one of us can explore our skills and make ourselves better and earn a little bit more. And we can use that to do good in our communities where we're at. And I would suggest the hardest work once you make the money is figuring out how to spend money responsibly. How can you move it responsibly? Right. And I would just encourage people, if they're going to do something in their community, if there's a charity or a cause that they love, definitely you can give money there, but you want to be there. Yeah. You want to be somebody who takes the money and like, I'm going to be involved. I'm going to steward this money. I'm going to figure out how to help. And we even did that with church and things like that. We don't tithe to churches, not because we think it's wrong, but because we want to take that money and we want to pour it into people. Yeah. We want to serve people that way. And I think for us, that's a little bit controversial. People don't always love that. But for us, it was never about just giving money away and hoping it does good. It's about taking the money that you make and finding the way that you can make a difference in a life. And that's harder than you might think.
Yeah, I think all of these nonprofits, churches, they make me very angry in the sense that just give us your money and don't ask any questions. Right. And they take away that fulfillment that each one of us need to have to actually help somebody. So they say, you write a check, you give it to me, you don't have to feel guilty, go away. And they'll tell you, they'll give you verses or tell you you've done what's right. And at the end of the day, they've stolen who you should be. And that's what makes us so mad. We're like, no, don't give your money to anybody. Like, I'll be in the Publix and they're like, do you want to give $1 to the Red Cross? I'm like, no, I don't want to give $1. I don't know where it's going. I don't know where it goes from that can. There's no oversight. And so, the person, the cashier doesn't want to have that discussion. They're like, wait, I'm just asking you for $1. I'm like, you don't know where that money's going. So, but we want to tell people, hey, listen, you're successful at your job to whatever level. You might have very little money, but get out there. And whether it's helping you change your single mom's tire, on her car, or getting involved in this person's life or that person's life, that's what it means to do good. And if everybody took care of themselves and took care of somebody else, the world would be a different place.
Right. And at the end of the book, I have my website on there. And if you go to my website, there's forms to fill out where we can help people figure it out too. Because we've learned a lot. We've made a lot of mistakes. And I think we've figured out some avenues of that do work. But it definitely involves you rolling up your own sleeves and getting dirty.
Also, great photos on the website. Like if you go there, you can see all the pictures from the last 10 years. It's pretty cool.
So the Get Money Good Do Good website. Why don't we do that?
Yeah.
So, all right. So this is the family here. I mean, this is probably, I think, one of the most amazing photos. And it's funny, you look at all the kids and you can just tell by their faces, the way they're standing, 100% different. All of them.
Yeah.
I mean, I love it. So can you guys give us a rundown on who's who from left to right on this?
Oh, sure. If I can see it. Far left is, James, who's my oldest.
This is here?
Yeah. He's from Mongolia, Inner Mongolia, China. Then is Angela, who's one of the speakers in the book. She's from the Philippines. Then is William. He's from Guangzhou, China. Then is little Zoe. She's my youngest, who's 7, also from the Philippines. Next to her is Raji, her brother, who's from the Philippines. And is that Edward there? Somebody next to him? Edward. Edward is 10. And then next to Edward is Garrett, who's our first son, biological. Then there's Gary and me. Next one over is Lakshmi, who comes from Kerala, Karanjapalli, South India. She's the one that we adopted when she was 8, but at 3, she almost didn't make it. So she has a really special story. Next one over is Robert. Robert, he's the second oldest child. He's 8. Then Jolyn is my biological daughter. She's 15. Shia from China. She was the first adoption we ever did. She's now just turned 15. And then Andrew, who is also 9, like William. He's from the Philippines.
It's amazing. I absolutely. This is got to be the greatest photo I think I've seen in a long time. Just the looks on their face makes you smile. Some of them just don't. You can just tell they're like, "Can we get this over with?"
That's
Right. So
Yeah.
we're on your website while we have it. So you have the tabs for the books and consulting and stories and Heroes Corner and all this. But this is where everybody should come to learn more. Yes, this is the website we've been given to.
Yep.
Yep. Great. And then those of you that are asking in the comments, let me pull this off here. We've had several people from different platforms asking where they can find stuff. So Jennifer did post that in the comment section here, so you'll know where to get the book there. Carolina Albano, she replied to you as well and gave a link, so you can copy that link and put it out there. Let's take we got a couple. Andrew Sealy has back-to-back comments, and Jen has a question as well. So, hey, Andrew, thanks for joining us. Success is only a meaningful word when context is included. Well done finding compelling ways to make it clear. Keep it up, you legends. Super impressive. I love it. I love it. I love it. And here you go. Outsourcing things like service is usually a false efficiency. All agreed, Gary. Yeah, perfect. And then Jennifer had a question for you. Sorry, I'm covering your face, Miles. You got to put your hands on top of the green screen like that, like you're holding. So, Jody, you shared how much your mom influenced your outlook on money and life. And now you clearly will influence so many other lives. Who or what else influenced or inspired you to follow and teach servant leadership?
Wow, good question. So my doctoral degree is in counselor education, and servant leadership is one of the models that we studied amongst many. But that combined with my faith really made it clear to me that servant leadership is the way to go. And it's all about being honest, but serving people, giving them the tools that they need to succeed, and really empowering other people. And I believe in empowerment of the kids, of women in this industry. And so that's been my favorite model that I had studied, and it really inspired me when I went with Phase 4 to do executive coaching and training of the leadership. That's the model we use, and it translates in any culture from any of our offices overseas. It just makes a difference when you tell people our goal is to help you to become better, and I'm going to lead you in a way where whether you stay with us at our company or move on, you're going to be better skilled at what you do. And you're going to succeed. And that's our goal at the company. And that's the goal of the servant leadership model, is to help make more phenomenal humans. And I think we try to do that with our kids and the company.
What I love about business is how, and I'm slightly autistic as well, probably, but I love that there's a very clear score in business, and that's profit. Whoever gets more profit wins. I mean, it's very, very clear in my mind. And when you look at servant leadership that Jody brought into the company in 2016 and trained them, the profit just continued to go up and up and up. Because you think about it, if I'm a leader and I can raise up 10 people around me who are better than me, look at what I've done for the company. Now, what's funny is in Asian culture that people would think, man, if I raise up 10 people that are better than me, I won't have a job. And then we had to explain, man, if you can raise up 10 people better than you, you'll have a job forever because you'll be raising people up. And the profit is clearly tied to servant leadership. So it not only is it the right thing to do, and it comes from faith, and it helps people from a pure profit point of view. And I think you start reading business books in the last 5-10 years, they will show you that servant leadership will equal a better profit model.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot to unpack there, Miles. Go ahead.
Yeah, what I love about just the words you guys use. I don't know if it's probably on purpose. You're both very smart, right? But servant leadership, get money, do good. They're all very action-based words. It's nothing that sit back and passively participate in anything with the two of you. And I just
nothing passive about our lives.
We're a little too much. We're a little bit too much.
Our children, yeah. It's like a full-blown fraternity party in my house every night.
Do you guys actually make it through a night of sleep without being interrupted?
Yeah, we do now.
Yeah.
Because we tell them at 8:30, you no longer have parents. We're done. I quit. Leave me alone.
We're all pretty scheduled. Like they have bedtimes. We all get sleep. You can't do this if you don't get sleep. I get up super early, so we're in bed.
Sorry, Miles. I think I cut you off.
Yeah, go ahead, Miles.
Well, I was just saying that's what you said about writing a check and you shouldn't feel guilty anymore. I think that's where a lot of people treat charitable work is, well, I gave that $1 to Red Cross, check the box and I'm done. but there's nothing active about that. That's simply checking the box.
If it helps you not feel guilty to give money, then you give money. But if you want to change the world, you got to roll your sleeves up.
Yeah. And your life will be so much better when you're involved with, because the truth is, while we help the kids, they're helping us. I mean, inherently, I'm a selfish person, but that's been beat out of me in the last 18 years. You know, I'm not selfish. I mean, sure, maybe in my core, but it's been beat out of me for 18 years. These kids have refined my character, Jody's character, to be better humans. You wouldn't get that from just donating. You just wouldn't. And that's the great part about it. It's a give-give situation.
That's right.
Yeah, for sure. Well, listen, guys, I told you it'd be a fast hour. It's 55 minutes already, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and we're just scratching the surface because I don't know if we told you, Miles, but I believe on the 13th, we're going to have Jody and Gary back on because we're going to be talking about Stonepile College as well.
Oh, very cool.
And what's happening there. One of the first colleges to talk about teach offsite construction in our industry. And I think that's amazing too.
A master's degree in prefabricated offsite modular construction. I think it's one of the only master's degree offered in that field. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I love it. All right. So tell us, where can people find you next, Jody? So the book tour is beginning, right? You got your soft launch. Let's make this last segment about you and the book and everything that you're doing to drive this forward, because it's an incredible story. And I think as much press and as much attention that you can get to shine a light on what's happening in the world with, child sex trafficking and all. I couldn't imagine somebody taking my child, I couldn't even fathom it, so I'm sure there's a lot of emotion tied to what you learned doing this too, even though you have the kids, but I'm sure they wonder where their parents are and all this stuff too. And I think there's a lot to unpack in this, and I really want people to learn about your story.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's so important to me. So there were publishers who were interested in publishing my book, but I chose to self-publish because I wanted the message to stay clear. Okay, you can show the cover. That's the same picture you had up, but in a black and white. So this is a grassroots book here. So it's going to be word of mouth. It's on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple. We did an audiobook. We did it as well as we could do it on our own. We did everything you would do if you were at a publishing house, but we wanted to keep the rights on it because we wanted to keep the message on point. And as you know, today there's an onslaught against capitalism, even an onslaught against adopted mothers and fathers. There's a little bit of some attacks going on and all of those things, so it's not necessarily a vogue topic to talk about. So we are out there sort of standing against the culture of our society and trying to get a book out there that I think will resonate with people, because I believe people want to be inspired and want to at the end of their life to have a legacy, to look back and say, this mattered what I did. And that's what the book is about. So we're all over social media. I'm on every bookstore you can think of. You will be able to find my book. And this week, I believe it's on Amazon. The Kindle is available for 99 cents for the soft launch. So if you want to get a cheap copy, that's the easiest way to go. And tell your friends about it. It is all word of mouth, and I think it's important stuff to get out there.
So Jody has done an amazing job in writing the book. She's also set up a publishing company and done an incredible job, put together a marketing team, been everywhere. She's so awesome. But if there's anyone listening that has any ideas on how we can do more marketing or, get on any type of talk show or do anything, let us know. So yeah, we can use all the help that we can get, of course.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. Well, we're definitely going to keep pushing this out because it's near and dear to our heart. We just love the story, and we have kids, and I think anybody that has kids can relate to what it's about. And I think that for sure, anybody out there, please get in touch. I mean, you can get in touch with them on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Base 4 Architecture. You're not hard to find, are you?
No, very easy. Our email's on Base 4 or Get Money Do Good, or link. You can find us on LinkedIn. If you search our name, we're pretty easy to find.
Yeah. And I have to tell you, they respond faster to email than anybody I've ever met. I love it. You guys are amazing. Absolutely amazing. Miles, you got some final comments there?
Well, I was just gonna say, I certainly have ideas, so I'll be in touch with you. My brain's been going on ideas, stuff that I think we could work together on to get the word out for the book. So I'll touch base with you guys after this for sure. But no, I'm still processing, Dave. I mean, frankly, this is such an amazing story. My brain has been working overtime listening. It's really incredible what you both have done. I look forward to reading the book and doing my part on the word of mouth as much as I can to tell everybody about it. So I appreciate you spending the time, because I'm sure with 12 kids and however many businesses, right, your time is very valuable. So I appreciate you sharing it with us here and all the listeners.
Almost 13 kids, Miles. Almost 13. Love it. All right. Well, listen, you two, and Miles, hold tight after the outro. We'll kind of recap on this. So listen, everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. And we really appreciate Jody and Gary Vermas coming on and educating us on what's happening in the world and sharing their story with us and all the get money, do good stories that you can learn about. I am reading the book, and I'm telling you, I'm loving it. So you guys rock. Base 4 rocks. Stone Pile College rocks. I don't know. I don't follow superheroes or rock bands, but maybe I'm going to start following you guys more often. I absolutely think it's a wonderful thing. So, all right, everybody, that is it for today. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for BS Friday. We have Green Home Institute is going to be on, and we are doing their net zero conference launch right here at 1 o'clock with myself and the Mark Bare Naked Willie tomorrow at 1. And also put it on your calendars. You want to learn about Stone Pile College? You want to learn about it? You want to go there? You want to get the only or one of the only master's degree in this industry that is growing so fast? Well, tune in on the 13th, because we're going to go through it in detail. We're going to talk about it, and we're going to talk about how it's changing this industry. I'm Dave Cooper, and Miles Biggs Ideas. We love having everybody tune in, and thank you to all of you who were commenting and enjoying this conversation. Jody and Gary, you guys hang tight. We will see everybody tomorrow, 1 o'clock. Bye now.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.